Going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 26 of the Daily Husky Football Show. Got a fun episode. I'm actually recording this part, at least, Thursday night. I'm going to talk about the Thursday night football game. An interesting game that it was. I'm going to get right into that. So, Dallas Cowboys lose to the Detroit Lions, effectively eliminating them from the playoff picture. Gives them a 9% chance to make the playoffs. To 44-30. It was a high-scoring game. The over was like 62. The over was like 54, but some people thought it was going to be high scoring. It was, but not in the way people wanted to. It started off slow. The Cowboys settled for a lot of field goals in the first half. And in my opinion, that's when they kind of lost the game. They went into halftime and they were down 20-9, down 11 points. There was a chance when it was 4th and 4, I believe, right before half they had the ball. Instead of going, they got the ball at half. Shoddy elects to kick it, and the Lions ended up going down before half and getting 3 of their own. So it effectively didn't even matter. Then after half, the first play out of half, it's a George Pickens slant. Amik Robinson plays it perfectly, gets his hand in there, batted up in the air, picked off. Disaster start for the Cowboys. And they ended up trying to get a few stops. They made it a one-score game, but too many field goals settling late in the game again, and they could not pull it off. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is the best athlete in the entire league. I don't think there's a single better actual athlete than Jahmyr Gibbs. He's so good. I thought Dan Campbell called a hell of a game today. I think that Goff was so money. One thing I noticed with the Cowboys is that they did a good job on first and second down. This game was it was sloppy. There was a lot of procedural penalties in this game. There was a lot of kind of just like stupid little flags. Just checking the flag numbers right here. They 8 for 50 for the Lions, 7 for 76 from the Cowboys. So kind of the longer ones there. 8 for 50. That's all. That smells like 5-yarders to me. Just getting yourself pushed back on first down. But every time they got to a third down, to a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, even the 3rd and 12, a bit of a longer one, it just felt like the Lions converted. They just overcame so many long distances in those spots, and Goff was money. He didn't throw a single ball they put into harm's way. He stood in there under pressure a few times. He hit J-Mo. J-Mo was huge. Amon-Ra played. That was a huge surprise. I didn't think he was going to go. He goes 6 for 92. I mean, that's crazy. That's just a crazy grit. Impressive. You got to love that guy. You want that guy on your football team to being able to come out there and battle through that. So, I mean, good for the Lions. They stay alive, 8-5. And all of a sudden, I mean, that division, the NFC North, is 2 teams with 9 wins, or 1 team with 9 wins, the Bears, 8-3-1 Packers, and now the 8-5 Detroit Lions. So it was a fun game. It could have been better. I thought it was going to be more of a back-and-forth shootout from the start. Teams scoring touchdowns, but no. But good game. Huge win for the Lions. Player of the game, he's got to be Gibbs. I mean, dude, this guy's just – that play he had to Bland on the side. Actually, I'm player of the game, Goff. Goff was nails. Goff was absolutely nails. He was delivering over the middle of the field. He can hit it. When he is on, he's hitting the entire field. Guys, on the money, in stride. He is money. So, great win for the Lions. And, yeah, now I'll send you guys the rest of the show. The Seattle Seahawks traveled to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons this week. What do we have here? The spread, it's sitting at around 7 points right now, I believe. The Seahawks are favored on the road. This is multiple weeks in a row. The Seahawks have been massive favorites. Yep, sitting at -7. And usually I spend 15 to 20 minutes. I don't think I need to do that today. I got some news to share, some outlooks about the game. There's not a whole lot I have to say about this team right now. They're playing well. Last week was felt like kind of a fluky game, to be honest. Like that's not a game script that's going to happen all the time. You can't just blitz the shit out of everyone every game. And Brian Flores is the only guy that can really do that, in my opinion. And he did it, and it kind of caught us off guard, but I expect him to rebound. On the Seahawks injuries note, some good news on that side. Julian Love designated return from practice. He was limited in practice the last 2 days. I don't know if he's going to play this game. I would like to see him get out there. I mean, even if it's kind of limited reps, just kind of ease him back into it. I would love to see Julian Love back on the field, especially so he's full go for this Colts game next week and definitely the Rams game after that. They also designated a return from practice Riley Mills, the first round pick, or not first round pick, the 4th or 5th round pick, I believe, on Notre Dame. That's going to be a boost to the interior D line, a team that has a lot of depth, but you can always take more depth. This is a team that has a lot of depth. We have Ty Okada, who's going to be the backup safety, who's shown to be a very, very serviceable backup. Started games and played very, very well in his time in relief. They have guys like Quinn Mohana. They have guys like Brandon Peely. Their interior D line depth is huge. And what's his name? Jaron Reed. My bad. I'm blanking right now. Jaron Reed is a full participant. He's come back from that wrist injury they sustained over the bye week. Would love to get him back just to kind of boost. He's been one of the best guys in the interior D line, and we haven't even really missed him, to be honest. And to get him back for the Colts game, for the Rams game, those two big important games coming up the next few weeks would be massive. Quite frankly, when talking about this Falcons game, it seems like Drake London's going to be on track back to play. He's missed the last few weeks. Kirk Cousins hasn't had him since he started starting. It seems like he's going to go, which is a little bit annoying. And he's facing the number one receiver. But if I'm being honest, I think Kirk is going to get sacked a lot of times. The Seahawks in the last few weeks have found a way to finally start finishing some sacks. They have a bit of a problem just kind of in the earlier part of the season where they get a lot of pressures and it wasn't amounting to sacks. It really just wasn't. And it was just kind of, if you watch the game, it's like they're getting after this guy. He's panicking. He's having to throw the ball away. But it wasn't amounting to sacks. And they have started to get it going. They had 4 sacks in the game last week against Minnesota on 17 pressures in a game where Brosmer couldn't really do anything. Kirk is a guy that's not mobile at all. He cannot move around in the pocket right now, especially like at the point in his career right now. They're going to leave him in the pistol. He's not going to be a whole lot of rolling out. He's going to get hit. When it's a straight dropbacks, he's going to get hit no matter if they're bringing 4, if they're bringing a little sim pressure, if they're blitzing. Kirk is going to get lit up, in my opinion. And when it comes down to it, this is going to have to be on the back of Bijan Robinson if you're a Falcons fan. This needs to be a Bijan game. He's the one guy on this field that can be a game breaker no matter what. They can split him out wide. They can hand him the ball off outside zone, and they're going to have the guys that can track him from sideline to sideline. And I like how the Seahawks match up with that, to be honest. Drake Thomas is a guy who's been super, super explosive. He seems to have a TFL, a sack, a PBU every single week. Ernest Jones is only getting healthier. That's going to be great to stop the run game. A guy like Nicky Manwari, if they go dime, or even when they have him kind of roaming in the middle, he's the guy that can track down Bijan Robinson and match up with him athletically, which is a massive, massive guy to have on the defense. I mean, I think if you shut down Bijan, you win the game by 10 to 15. I don't see the Falcons be able to hang around if you can stop Bijan. My kind of problem, or not problem, but just kind of thinking, who's going to guard him in the pass game if they go do man up? You got to get home because he's a guy that can break through from anyone. Maybe Witherspoon's a guy I'm trying to think about. Maybe even Worry. Even Worry just seems a little too big to kind of guard him making those cuts. But I think the Seahawks win this game by 10 to 15. I'd like to see the offense get back on track and not turn the ball over. They obviously had that game against the Titans, no turnovers in the last week against the Vikings. They popped back up again, which is a little frustrating. But I think they win this game by 2 scores. I want to see Darnold take care of the football. I want to see JSN reestablished. I think Jeff Olbert's going to try and get after you. He's going to try and frustrate Darnold. He's going to try to take away JSN as much as he can. Get him involved early. Get him some screen passes. Don't go 2 quarters without him touching the ball. He's not going to get frustrated. He's not a diva, but he shouldn't get schemed out of the game plan. That was the whole thing all year that I would always say. JSN's a guy that can't get schemed out of the game plan. Show me that again. Win this game by 2 scores and get on to the Colts week. Let's go Hawks. On to the Sunday games. I'm starting with the game I'm really, really excited for, which is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills. 10 a.m. Sunday morning. A must-win game for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are at 4-8. They're sitting in a spot where they have to win out to give themselves any sort of a chance at a playoff berth. And they can do it. They beat the Ravens last week, who were kind of on a little bit of a winning streak. And they're facing the Bills team at a right time right now. This is not the Bills team that of old that's going to gouge you down the field, and Josh Allen's going to make the plays time and time again, the MVP level plays, and carry them on his back. He has the capability to do that. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he has struggled to do that this year. Then the Bills offense has struggled as a whole to kind of just totally get going. They haven't been able to get into any sort of a rhythm, and they had a win over Pittsburgh last week where they really just started really, really slow in that first half. They couldn't get anything going. They come out in the second half and playing a Mason Rudolph-led team, an Aaron Rodgers banged up led team. Rodgers was 10 of 21. The defense held down there another bargain, but this is a different animal with the Bengals offense right now. I think the Bengals offense is going to find its stride even more than they already have. Just looking at last week, the flashes were there of vintage Bengals, and that was Burrow's first action in like 8, 9 weeks. So you got to think that he's going to get more and more comfortable, and it is going to help that T. Higgins, his second favorite target, is going to be back. That gives him the guy who can throw back shoulder 50-50 balls through. He's thrown a lot of 50-50 balls to Mitchell Tinsley because you can't throw to Jamar every play. So when Jamar's taken away, he's throwing a lot of deep shots to Tinsley, and Tinsley just couldn't come down with them. That's just not nothing. No offense to Tinsley, but that's not his game. And with T back, that just makes even more of a weapon against a team that's really struggling on the secondary side right now. The Buffalo Bills tried to claim Darius Slay, and I think Darius Slay he has to be released by the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe. He was in a spot where he wanted to go back to the Eagles, didn't think anyone was going to claim him. And they claim him, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to take some time off from football right now. I don't think that I just need to take some time off." So that can't say very much good things about the organization right now. He had to have talked to some guys and like, I don't want to do this right now, which is a weird sign to me, in my opinion. On the Bengals defensive side of the ball, this is a team that's kind of surging. I mean, it's hard to say surging. They're not an elite defense, but they were a horrible. We're one of the worst defenses in the entire league to start this season for a majority. But in these last 2-3 weeks, they've kind of been able to get something going. In the Patriots game, they held that offense to 26 points, had a chance to win it. That's aided by a pick six, so really held the Patriots offense to 19 points. In the Ravens game, they hold Lamar to 14 points, and that's kind of a similar way that these teams are run. There's two teams with two good running backs, a scrambling dual threat quarterback that's going to try to carry the team on his back, and they held Lamar to, I believe, just under 30 rushing yards. He really was not able to do anything on the rushing side of the ball. So you have to hope that translates to Allen. And they're doing this all without Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is out right now. He's doubtful for the game this week. He's been out the last 2 weeks. And they've been able to generate some pressures. I mean, they had 26 pressures on Lamar last week, only 2 sacks. But if you're pressuring him, making him uncomfortable, forcing him into some of those turnovers, and Allen's a guy that you can force turnovers onto. He's had some games this season where he does some of those things that he would do his rookie season, his first few seasons in the league, where he just makes one of those boneheaded mistakes and turns the ball over in a bad spot and gives the team points. And you're not playing a Joe Flacco-led team where you can get after him. Burrow's only going to get more comfortable on that foot, only get more comfortable scrambling around the pocket, making things happen, especially with his targets back. The run game's going to be better. The offense is only get better from it was last week, and it showed its flashes of the specialness that it can be with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to take the Bengals in this game. I think I'm right. They're riding the momentum there. Burrow back, I think that they all believe anything is possible. They can win any game that they're in. And they love that underdog mindset. Burrow loves that underdog mindset. I think they go into Buffalo and kind of contain a struggling Bills offense and win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game by a score or two, to be honest, if the Bills can't get it going. And the Bengals I expect them to be clicking, especially if Higgins is able to be back. Titans, Browns. Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. This was a game that before the draft was kind of circled as, could this be Cam versus Shedeur, the 2 first-round picks? It hasn't really played out like that, or like many people thought it would be, but it's going to be Cam versus Shedeur. Browns are favored by 4.5 points. Probably the only time they're going to be favored by 4.5 points for the rest of the season. And it's an interesting one. Deshaun Watson opens his practice window. I don't really know how to feel about that. I kind of just thought that he was going to be done, not come back to the Browns. And he's kind of coming into this mentorship role with Shedeur in the last few weeks, which I think was pretty unexpected. I didn't see him coming into the, not public eye, but I just kind of thought it would be one of those things where they come to a mutual agreement to part ways at the end of the season, even mid-season. And they haven't. So kind of a interesting thing there, in my opinion. But on to the game-wise, I think this is kind of, I don't know, it's hard to say a trap spot. The over-under sitting at 33 points. You can only expect ugliness on both offensive sides of the ball. It's the Titans team scored 3 points last week against the Jaguars. It's the Browns team with Shedeur that only put up 8 against the Niners. Shedeur kind of struggled. They were getting after him on the defensive side of the ball. Let me see how many times he was pressured. They were making him uncomfortable. I didn't love the way Stefanski called the game. The few costly turnovers kind of just killed them, any momentum that they could have had, because they didn't play bad in that first half. And checking out these grades, the offensive line played well. Wyatt Teller graded out of 83, Joel Bitonio at 81, Ethan Posich graded out of 80, former Seahawk, Tevin Jenkins graded out of 72, KT Levinson graded out of 69. All the top 5 guys graded out on their offense were their offensive linemen. And they kind of, and that checks out because Judkins ran for 91 yards, Sampson ran for 23. That's 110 total, 138 total between all guys, running backs, Shedeur included. But they just couldn't really capitalize on drives that they had to get going. And early in the game, when they got stops on Purdy, they couldn't score and kind of put the pressure on the Niners. It allowed the Niners to play the game that they wanted to play. The Niners pressured him only 11 times. So he got sacked 3 times, only pressured 11. The offensive line did a pretty decent job, but they just weren't able to. The lack of weapons. Finn is leading receiver with 3 receptions, 43 yards, 1 touchdown. Judy had 3 for 26. Larvadin had 2 for 23. Bond had 1 for 18. We couldn't see really Shador be able to push the ball down the field. The opportunity just wasn't there. The Niners, I think Salah had a really good game plan. He's one of the best defense coordinators in the league. I expect him to get a job next year. He didn't let Shador escape the pocket, and that's when multiple of his big plays came against the Raiders. When he escaped the pocket, he was able to find someone down the field. He was trying to. The Niners did a really good job of containing him and not letting him, make that big play happen and invigorate the crowd. I don't see Cam Ward having much success against this Browns defense. This Browns defense is smothering. I wouldn't be surprised if this game's like 10-3, to be honest, 13-10. I could see a lot of field goals happening in this game if they can't even get into that side of the field. It should shape off well for the Browns. I mean, I see why they're favored, but I mean, who knows? Cam Ward could, every rookie, I feel like, number 1 overall pick, there's that one game where they just show something. And a Browns team that's defeated, like, who knows? They might just not come out flat. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they came out flat. It's a home game. They start off slow on offense. The defense is kind of like, they're not going to give up. But, I mean, stuff happens. If a rookie quarterback invigorates his team, Cam Ward's pushing the ball down the field to his guys, Gunnar Helm, Aya Manor, Chimere Dike, who I saw a stat today is on pace to have the most all-purpose yards, including return yards, of all time by a rookie, which is kind of crazy. And that's kind of just has to do with because of the amount of kick returns that they're having because of the defense giving up points. Hopefully it's fun. I hope these 2 quarterbacks kind of get something going. No one wants to watch a 10-3 game, a 13-10 game, a 12-9 game. Give me the Browns in that one. I feel like I could see that one being kind of fun, but I hope we can see something from Shore. I want to see him take some shots. I feel like Stefanski's, I don't know if I'd say pressure, but he's not. I want to see him dial some stuff up, dude. You're 3-9. See if you have anything in this quarterback. Let him chuck it to Judy. I mean, Judy's is not the prospect that anyone thought he was going to be, but give him a chance on the field, dude. Like, let's make it fun. Next game, Commanders, Vikings. 9 is back. And honestly, the big winner of last week's game versus the Seahawks, I guess, from the Vikings perspective, if you're going to have a winner, was J.J. McCarthy. Because, I mean, I guess it showed he's not the worst option on the team. It gets some of the heat off of your backup quarterback. Like, let's see what Brosmer gives you when he goes out and gives you that performance. And that's the only positive that I could think of that came from the Minnesota Vikings perspective, and it's from McCarthy. He's back off the concussion protocol in a spot where he has to show something this week. I don't need to see anything crazy. They're favored in this game. They're 4-8. They're taking on the Commanders, who are 3-9. I need to see the serviceable quarterback play. I need to see you attempt to push the ball down the field on this Commanders defense, which is not very good at all. You're going to have help from the run game behind you. They're bad against the run. Give me a shot. Like, throw the ball. Justin Jefferson should have at least, I need to see McCarthy target him at least 7 or 8 times. The season's lost. Show me that you guys can start to build a connection or some sort of chemistry for next year. Because as of right now, it's looking, as each week he starts, it gets worse and worse. And people are like, are they needing to draft a quarterback this year with this pick? Which, I mean, it sucks. It's a horrible spot to be in, but Kevin O'Connell needs to figure something out. There has to be something that McCarthy can do that you can scheme a game plan up to make it easy on him. Tell him to take a play action fake and chuck it 50 yards to Justin Jefferson. Let me see if he can do that. But this passive play, this under 130 yards passing every time he drops back, it's hard to watch. It's not sustainable at all, like from an organizational standpoint. On the Commander side, Commanders are feisty. Marcus Mariota is feisty. I mean, good for him. Jaden Daniels is trending in the right direction to start on Sunday at Minnesota. I think that's stupid. I think did Dan Quinn learn nothing? I understand the kid wants to play. I understand if he's healthy, he wants to play. He's there. I mean, I think that gives them a better chance to win the game, obviously. But their only kind of success on offense when he was in the game was running around. When he tries to make plays with his legs and just taking extra hits. And I get it. There's a few weeks left to see. You don't want to sit him down, but I don't know if this is the right decision. I guess he will have Terry McLaurin back. He will have his favorite receiver to throw the ball to, but I just don't know that it's the right move. I mean, he avoided any like structural damage with the elbow when he got hurt, but you can't. That was a gruesome injury, and kind of just the mental part of that. The team's bad. It's just a harsh difference from what it was last year. I don't know if it's the smartest decision for him to play, but it seems like he's going to. I mean, I love seeing him back on the field, but I don't know. If Key plays, I like the Commanders to win this game. Dolphins, Jets, Miami, and a shot to get to 6-7. Be on the outside looking in the AFC playoff picture. Probably not going to make it, but make things interesting against the feisty Jets. Good for the Jets. I'm happy when the Jets win football games. They can beat the Falcons. The Falcons are a poverty team. The Just good for the Jets, man. And no matter what happens, like they're set up in a decent spot for the future. And maybe they have something AD Mitchell. Maybe that's something to keep a monitor on because, I mean, the talent was there out of college. Him as a prospect was a good prospect coming out of Texas. And Tyrod Taylor's giving him a chance. It's exactly why Tyrod's playing. They want to see what these have in these young guys. Mason Taylor showed some flashes. If you can have a young receiver and AD Mitchell, a young, hungry receiver on a rebuilding team, that's a great thing to have. You're not paying him too much money. He's not going to ask for too much money. If he does get to that point in the next few years, I think that was a great addition to the Sauce Gardner trade. Facing the Miami Dolphins, who are kind of streaking. I believe they're coming off a bye week. They beat the Saints. They beat the Saints. That's my fault. That forgettable game against the Saints where they should have won it by so much more. Tyler Shuck almost comes back to have the legacy, tied the game up at 19-19. He throws the pick to Minka Fitzpatrick after Tyrell Dodson. He calls the defense on his own, former Seahawk Tyrell Dodson. But I think this is a good game for the Dolphins to win. If Dolphins lose this game, they need to show some. There's no reason to not come out with a sense of urgency in this game for Miami, in my opinion. This isn't a 3-9 team versus a 3-9 team. You have actually a slim chance, but a chance to make the playoffs. If Mike McDaniel wants to coach for his job, I assume at this point they're going to keep him around. But have your team come out with some fight. Come out and beat an inferior team. Don't hang around with the Saints again because then it just shows like you get nothing's. I don't think the Dolphins are going to do anything, but come out and show me something. Get Waddle involved down the field. Tua, show me something in this game. Win this game by a few scores. Make a statement and show like, hey, if we get in, like we're not going to be an easy game for you. I don't know if anyone's going to believe that, but I'd like to see them make a statement. I'd like to see Tua, Waddle, Mike McDaniel make a statement. Maybe just try to build on some momentum for next year. If you guys are going to stick around, show that you guys can be the future of the franchise. Next game in the morning, the Saints take on the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay served by 8.5 points in Tampa Bay. And the Bucs are sitting at 7-5. Saints are sitting at 2-10. Coming off just that disappointing loss against the Dolphins. I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed in the Saints. And I mean, they're a 2-10 football team. That's neither here nor there. Like, they're not gonna be a good football team. That's whatever. We knew that. But coming off that win over the Panthers, the 17-7 win, they had 2 games against the Falcons and the Dolphins. That these are teams that aren't very good, middle to lower the pack teams, and especially that Falcons game. That was Kirk's first game starting. I believe they were 2-7 at that time. And this was like a pick'em. It was an even money spread. And the Saints got dominated at home against the Falcons by Kirk Cousins. And you go into a game against Miami where, who knows, the Dolphins aren't that great. You're going to Miami. But you get ran all over by Devon A-Chain. And Tyler Shuck just doesn't. His stats have looked pretty decent. I feel like throwing the ball has been overall pretty solid. But just kind of 2 uninspiring performances. Uninspiring first half against the Dolphins. You make a last-ditch effort late in the game, but this is a game that should have been over. It was 16-0 at halftime. You just come out flat, and I don't think it's a Kellen Moore. It might be a Kellen Moore problem. I don't necessarily think he needs to be fired. I think there's some promise there. He's one of those guys. He's not like a changeover guy. He's a guy that has some serious potential to be a good coach in the league, but it's a bit of a frustrating thing I've been thinking about with these Saints. For the Bucs, though, the Bucs. It's a division game. That's the thing about this game. These games are never easy in the NFC South. Whenever the Bucs play the Saints, it feels like it gets chippy. These guys don't like each other. No matter what you think, they're 8-point favorites. This is a divisional game in the NFC South with two teams that, I don't know if I'd say, a rivalry teams. And looking back to the first time they played the season, they went to New Orleans, and it was 23-3. They won. But that was a weird, ugly game. The Bucs offense really, really struggled. And the only reason they ended up winning by 20 was because the defense kind of just dominated the Saints and forced a few turnovers. I believe just looking at that box score was Rattler threw an interception, Shuck threw an interception, 2 lost fumbles for them too. Rattler lost one, Shaheed lost one. They won the turnover battle by 4. So like that's kind of just why they won that game like that. It wasn't necessarily because the offense hadn't very much success because they really didn't. I remember that was a game where Baker struggled. It was just kind of one of those ugly wins, and that's kind of how the Bucs have been winning lately. That Cardinals game, that was an ugly win. That's not one. That's kind of one like you look at it. I'd say you watch it once, burn the tape. You don't need to keep dwelling back on that. You gotta be happy to have Bucky Irving back. He had multiple weeks off with that injury, so you can only hope to up his workload as time goes on. Chris Godwin had a good game last week, kind of his best game he's had so far this season. Emeka only had a 4 for 42. His kind of workload has kind of gone down. It seems like him and Baker haven't really been connecting on those deep shots. Baker hasn't really been able to find a lot of people with these deep shots that he's finding almost every week early in the season. Teams are adapting. Teams aren't letting him scramble as much, but I think the Bucs win this game. I could see it being a little sneaky close, but I just don't see Tyler Shuck being able to move the ball in this Bucs defense. It's going to get after him. Up next, Colts and Jaguars. What a significant game this is. The Indianapolis Colts, the kind of falling back Indianapolis Colts, sitting at 8-4, coming off 2 losses in a row, 3 out of the last 4 losses to the Chiefs, Texans, and against the Jaguars, who had that early season momentum, kind of dwindled off toward midseason, I'd say. And recently, I've really got it back together. They had the big win over the Chargers by 30, over the Cardinals by 3, Titans by 22, and a close loss to the Texans in the game that they really should have won. They should be on a 5-game winning streak right now because they beat the Raiders the week before that. This is arguably puts either team in the driver's seat to win this division. They're both 8-4. The Texans are kind of lurking behind them, but whoever wins this game is really in a really, really good spot, to be honest. The Jacksonville Jaguars currently hold the tiebreaker. They're 2-1. Both these teams are 2-1 in the division. So one of them is going to go to 3-1. One of them is going to go to 2-2. I do not know if they played. They have not played yet so far this season. So they will match up again later in the season, just in 3 weeks now after this game, to pretty much. I mean, the AFC South is coming down to it. The Texans, we all thought they were out of it the first few weeks. We thought the Colts maybe run away with it. And the Colts started to fall. Texans have got hot. They're only 1 game back. They're sitting at 7-5. And they're 4-1 in the division. So that's where the advantage sits for them. These guys have most of their division games out of the way. The worst they can actually be is 4-2. And that's only if they lose their last divisional game, which is versus the Colts in week 18, which could arguably decide the division. So, into the game. The Colts need to get back to establishing the run game. Obviously, yes, they do. But when you kind of get into it, they have not really played a really super efficient game on offense in multiple weeks. They struggled against the Chiefs. They struggled against the Texans. They've kind of just looked choppy in the pass game. Like Daniel Jones was 14 of 27 last week, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just going back in kind of his game logs, he for 201 in the Chiefs game, he was 19 of 31, 181 yards. In the Atlanta game, they do win, but that's the big JT game. He goes 19 to 26, 255. He had an efficient game there. And the Pittsburgh game was 31 to 50, 342, but he has the four turnovers. So, kind of thinking of the Chiefs game and the Texans game, they've struggled to convert on big downs. In that Chiefs game, they had so many chances to kind of get a first down, ice the game, or if we get a first down, shoot some clock a little bit. And when the run gets stuffed on first down, which I think teams are kind of starting to sell out for, when they stop the run on first down and get them into a 2nd and 10, and you don't convert that, your rate obviously goes completely down. Teams are stopping Jonathan Taylor on first down. They're not letting him run the ball on that down to make it a 2nd and 3rd and manageable. And they're buckling down, and it seems like they're playing tight man-to-man coverage on these guys and making Daniel Jones make a great throw into a tight window, which he did a few times in that game, but it's not sustainable. I mean, they were 3 of 10 on 3rd down against the Texans. Against the Chiefs, let me check that out. But that's poor. That's poor conversion ranks. Against the Chiefs, they were 7 of 16, so a little better, but in that second half, they had was it 1 total scrimmage yard? So it just seems like in these big moments, they have not been able to Daniel Jones specifically has not been able to make the big play with his arm. On the Jaguar side, I don't know how to feel about this team. Just on the eye test, it's like, these guys are not very good, but they're winning games. They've had a few dominant wins and a few games where it's like, what is going on? That Raiders game, that was a game they probably should have lost. Cam Little hits a big kick before half. It kind of changes the dynamic of it. They win by 1. Cardinals game, Trevor Lawrence is trying to throw the game away. They have 3 or 4 turnovers, and they hold on to get the victory after Jacoby Brissett put together a mammoth comeback effort in that game. So I don't really know what to feel here. I think the Colts are the better team. The Colts are going on the road. The Colts need to win more. The Daniel Jones injury is weird. I don't know. How you break your femur. He said he didn't know when it happened. It just was something that happened in the Chiefs game. I don't know how that's possible, but he's going to go. I mean, you hope he's only going to get better, but I don't know who to take here. Like, quite honestly, I'm very, very stubbed on who to take in this game. I really am not sure. I think I'm going to go with the Colts. I think I'm going to rely on them. I think personally they're a better team overall. I'm not too high on either of these teams. If I had to pick a team out of this division, I'm taking the Texans as of now. But I think you give me the Colts in this game on the road, kind of bounce back. They can't go on They can't go on a 3-game skid. Last game of the early window: Steelers versus the Ravens, a massive division for the North. Baltimore's 5.5-point favorites at home, coming off that embarrassing home loss to the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. They have that extra day to prepare. Lamar Jackson, the Lamar Jackson injury saga continues, and he's probably going to play. But ever since he's came back from that injury, he has missed at least 1 day in practice. He has not had a consistent full week of practice since he came back from his injury, which I think you can attribute to some of these struggles that they're having. They're struggling to get into a rhythm. They're a bit out of sync. Lamar isn't using his legs as much, maybe because he's not healthy. He isn't making these jaw-dropping MVP plays that we're used to Lamar Jackson making, and that all goes hand in hand with the status of the Ravens right now. So he's sitting at questionable. He's probably going to play. Nate Wiggins is questionable with a foot injury. Vontez Walker is limited with a groin injury, but Rashad Bateman, ankle limited, sitting at questionable. He's probably going to go. But onto the game point of view, the Steelers need this win more than the Ravens, I think. Quite simply because the Ravens, they still have that game against the Bengals. That's kind of one where they control their own destiny. Maybe not, actually. Looking at these schedules, they both actually have pretty tough schedules coming down to it. The thing is, they play each other twice, so that eliminates 2 of the games, 2 out of the last 5. The Steelers have the Lions, Browns, and Dolphins, which I'd say is a little bit more favorable. And the Ravens have the Bengals, Patriots, Packers. So based on schedule-wise, I think the Steelers have the easier schedules. I mean, the Ravens need a little more. The Ravens just have those 2 against the Bengals the 1 more against the Bengals that kind of impacts the division if the Bengals are to make a run, which I'm hoping they do. But I think the Ravens got to win this game. They're at home. You can't have back-to-back divisional losses at home. That's when kind of the fan base starts to turn its head. I mean, they're already buried in rage, I'd say. Maybe not rage quite yet, but the frustrations are there with this team. All the talent on paper, all the preseason expectations, all the odd shifts. The expectations are there, and this team is not living up to it. And to host a home Thanksgiving game and get embarrassed on your own field is bad. And you have a chance to. It doesn't necessarily right the ship yet. They'll only put you at 7-6, but you have a chance to go out and say, "Hey, last week was a fluke. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna beat the shit out of our division rival, and we're gonna get back on track." I think that they do purely because This Pittsburgh offense is really, really poor. They don't have an elite 1 receiver. Fans are starting to see it. Pittsburgh fans are starting to see it. They would rather have George Pickens on the team. DK Metcalf is he's not a legit number 1 receiver. He is way too easily schemed out and phased out of game plans and phased out of game schemes. If you just take away the deep shot, he's not going to contribute. He's not going to catch 5 to 10 balls. He's not going to catch 8 to 10 balls a game, catching slants, catching a screen run after the catch, going in motion, getting the ball in the flat. That's not what he's going to do. He's not going to block hard. He's going to get a boneheaded personal foul, and just like not worth it for what you're paying for this guy. You give up a 2nd-round pick to Seahawks at Nicky Manwari, and you get DK Metcalf, the locker room cancer, who is not a $30 million receiver. There's not many $30 million receivers. He is not one of those. That is for damn sure. So I think the Ravens win this game. I'm really, really out on the Steelers. But yeah, give me the Ravens in this one. Up next, Broncos Raiders. I'm gonna keep it quick here. I can't watch the Raiders. I don't like either of these teams. I don't like watching either of these teams. I hope not to see very much of this on Red Zone. I'm obviously gonna keep up a little bit, but can the Broncos beat a team convincingly? Genuinely, I just don't understand. I don't. The Broncos are frauds. You can't be a nine. Like you can't be a legitimate 10-2 football team and have an inability to take care of inferior opponents. Look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks have consistently had 7 to 10 to 12 point spreads against these teams in these last few weeks, and they have been covered or a game where it's kind of a backdoor cover. The Seahawks are winning most of the way, like the Titans. The Titans game, they're up 14, and the Titans, Cam Ward scores with a minute to go. Like they covered that game. The Broncos, never comfortable. You cannot be a Broncos fan and breathe a sigh of relief in any of these games because Bo Nix is going to hand the ball to the opponent. They're not going to convert on in the middle zone. It seems like sometimes they have that hot start. In the second and third quarter, they just go flat. And in that fourth quarter, they come back up and they make some heroic play. And it's like, oh my God, the Broncos are so clutch. Broncos are just beating bad teams. The Raiders suck. I don't know if Genty's going to play. I'll check that out. It's like Zach Allen's going to be questionable for the Broncos. Pat Bryant's questionable. DJ Jones questionable. Nate Adkins questionable. We'll check out the Las Vegas Raiders right here. But Crosby didn't practice Thursday. Jamal Adams didn't practice Thursday. Michael Mayer didn't practice Thursday. Dante Thornton didn't practice Wednesday. Dylan Parham did not practice. All those guys are questionable. I just listed. Give me the Broncos to win this game. Give me a convincing win, please. I'm so sick of these 2-point Denver Broncos wins. Bears Packers. Arguably the game of the week. I wish this was on Sunday Night Football. What else is there to say? This matchup will tell you as much as you know about the Bears as anyone will all season. Yes, they beat the Eagles last week. Yes, the Eagles were a bad team going into the game. The Packers have been the Bears' kryptonite since I could remember starting to watch football. Since when I was growing up and Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback of the Packers. They have consistently owned them. And the Bears have a chance to go into Lambeau at 9-3 in a competitive division, a competitive NFC playoff picture, where a loss puts you down to the 7 seed and make a statement and take control of the division at 10-3. Can they? I think that they can. I think that they're just gritty. The way that they play football, I feel like, even on defense, it's a good matchup against the Pack. Going back to the game against the Eagles, they stopped Saquon Barkley really, really well. And this isn't the same Eagles rushing attack from last year. This isn't the Saquon that's running for 200 yards. But they held him in check. And Jordan Love is a kind of a fluky, kind of streaky quarterback at times. He has the ability to make those dumb incompletions, or he doesn't have a studly receiving room. It's not like he has a guy that's going to be an alpha and go out and break out and take control over a game. A lot of it's on his arm talent. Like Saquon ran for 56 yards against the Bears, against the Bears with the Eagles. Nashawn Wright's been a ball hawk. I mean, Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, them being back is such a difference maker for these guys. They're gonna have Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, Nashawn Wright. They got Kevin Byard in the secondary, Juwan Brisker. All those guys against the receiving room of Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavion Wicks. You can't rely on a guy like Dontavion Wicks to go back-to-back weeks with that 2-touchdown crazy performance where you're catching everything that comes your way. You just can't. It's not realistic. And I think if they can shut down Josh Jacobs and make Love have to make these throws time and time again, which he did against the Lions, I will give it to him. He did against the Lions, and prevent the big, deep shot to Watson, I think they have a really, really good shot in this game. And you saw the O-line push around the Eagles' D-line with Monangai and Swift, like arguably the best 1-2 punch in the entire league. Monangai didn't practice living on Thursday, so he fine. So did Rome. Rome didn't practice, but he's been questionable the last few weeks. I think he's going to go. I think that the Bears win this game. Everyone keeps saying the Bears are flukes. They haven't played anyone. This team is just the way that they're built. I'm not saying it's going to translate to the playoffs. They have find ways to win football games. Caleb has been pretty poor the last few weeks. He's one of the lowest. He has like a 51% completion rate in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he finds ways to win games. He makes that throw to Komet, rolling to his left, floats it over the top to Cole Komet, makes the catch, touchdown, clinches the game. They just are clutch. And if you get Caleb Williams into the ball with need a score, need a one score, get a quick stop, get the ball back, he's going to do it. He's going to give you a chance. And I think that's just shows the tributes of the Ben Johnson like coaching mentorship in his ear. Just give me the Bears there. I would love to see the Bears win that game. Rams Cardinals. Going to keep this one brief. Rams are at 9-3. The Cardinals are at 3-9. Divisional matchup in Arizona. Quite frankly, I just don't see Matthew Stafford like selling a game 2 weeks in a row. He was Bryce Young played a fantastic game, but Matthew Stafford gifted him 7. He turned the ball up at the end of the game. It looked like he was going to drive down to win it or tie it. That first pick was kind of fluky, but quite frankly, I just don't think that they're gonna lose 2 games in a row. Not to teams like this. I don't like. Obviously, I think they could if they play better teams. They're not going to lose 2 in a row to the Panthers and the Cardinals. I just don't quite see it. I think Stafford's going to log back in. Devontae's going to catch a touchdown. They're going to get Puka back involved. Puka in the end zone. And Jacoby Brissett's been fine, but he's just kind of one of those stat pads. He's going to fill the stat sheet up, and it's going to look good on paper. But he's not really going to. You'll be kind of in it at the end, but you're never going to be in control of the game. It's going to be one of those things. That, get back in it. Can Jacoby? What can Jacoby do? I think that they're out of it. Give me the Rams in that game for a pretty easy victory, in my opinion. Lastly, Sunday Night Football. Texans versus the Chiefs. I think this is a must-win game for the Chiefs. Texans, not so much yet, which is based on like the urgency because of that division still in play, and they have the good divisional record. They still have that game against the Colts, so they're kind of rooting for the Colts to win because they control their own destiny there. But the Chiefs, dude, I don't even know what to think about these guys. And this is a horrible matchup with this elite Texans defense, a Texans defense that has shut down everyone that they've played. They just shut down Josh Allen. They shut down the Colts. They shut down a lot of people, dude. Like they're just so good all around. Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, that pass rush is one of the best in the entire league. D'Amico Ryans, I think, is a wizard. I'm happy he kind of escaped the hot seat talk that was coming in the early season. That was just super over and premeditated. Like he's an elite defensive coordinator, and the shortcomings of the offensive staff, the offensive coordinator, I do not put that on him at all. I think that I'm going to believe in the Chiefs until they really, really are eliminated. And this is practically an elimination game. If you get to 7 losses with 4 games to go, you have to win out to get 10-7 in a competitive AFC. I don't necessarily know if that gets you in. I guess, especially against a team that is competing for that spot. I think they know what they have to do. I think Andy Reid knows what he has to do to win this football game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Steve Spagnuolo has to be kind of the key in this. You cannot let this get into a shootout, because if it takes into a shootout and Texans win the game, that defense is going to get a stop eventually. The Chiefs, I don't know. They can be streaky. They can give up points. You can't let Nico Collins beat you. Nico Collins is the best player on the Texans. If him and Stroud get clicking and they get going early, it's going to be a long day, because I love Trent McDuffie. He still has some struggles this year, especially with bigger receivers. He struggled with Pickens. He struggled with a few other guys, just off the top of my head. And I think Nico Collins is another one of those guys that kind of fits that mold that really gives him trouble. On the offensive side, the Chiefs they need to score touchdowns, and obviously they do. The Cowboys game was kind of a weird example because they scored 4 touchdowns, but the Colts game they held them around in it for way too long. The Bills game they didn't capitalize on drives. The Broncos game, and too many field goals. They waste so many possessions when they get down to the red zone. They get into just across the 50, and it's just like a negative play, and then you either have to punt because you don't trust Butker, or Butker kicks a long field goal. They have to be able to finish drives. They have to get in that inside the 5, inside the 10, because they're relatively decent inside there, in my opinion, with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's one of the best goal line backs in the entire league, but they have struggled to keep momentum going on a drive. It seems like a lot of times I've watched it, they'll have a good first few plays, get down to the 50, and then just sputter out there, and that's so frustrating to watch. I cannot even imagine being a Chiefs fan. I'm taking the Chiefs in this game. I'm not going to kill the Chiefs until they're dead. Until I see the fat lady saying, until I see the dead body right in front of me. The Chiefs are alive. I think the Chiefs win this game. Let's get on college football. A lot of conference championship games to talk about. Some coaching stuff. Gonna give like a UW little recap. Let's get into that. Before I look into the conference championship games, I popped on to my Instagram, send me some hot takes, send me some questions to answer. And there's one that relates to the Seahawks and one relates to the Broncos, and the rest of them kind of work into college football, and we'll get into that. So, first one, Broncos are the worst 10-2 team in NFL history. I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to get into the research of 10-2 teams. You can kind of look at that when the season ends before we get into the playoffs of the regular season, just record. But I mean, they're fraudulent, dude. I mean, a team that comes to mind for me is in the COVID year when the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, were like 13-0 to start, and everyone knew that they were not a good team. And they started losing a few games towards the end of the season, and they ended up getting bounced the first round of the playoffs by Baker Mayfield, I believe, in the divisional round. I just don't see it with this team. They don't have the intangibles. They have a really, really good defense, but this offense is not good at all. Like they are not. They don't make. They're horrible. I mean, it's not hard to say horrible. I don't like Sean Payton. Not a huge fan of him. I don't like him as a person. I don't like Bo Nix. The Broncos just aren't it. They're not a quality. They're a perennial playoff team. Yes, I will say that. They are nowhere near Super Bowl contenders. Next one, is Anthony Bradford as bad as people say he is, or is he just getting clip farmed off bad looks? I think it's a mix of both. If you look at the thing is, like, I trust Mike McDonald. I trust Clint Kubiak. In my opinion, if there was another better option, the better option would be playing. Like, people can post these clips every week. Obviously, they're really bad clips. But, and I've heard a lot of people say this, he's the type of player that he's a little bit below average guard, honestly. But guard play is really hard to come around and find in the NFL. If there was a good guard out there to trade for, they would have done it. If there was a good guard out there on the street, they would have signed him. He's good in the run game. He's definitely gotten stronger from last year. He's in better shape than he was last year. He's a better player than he was last year. He has big misses. He has plays, one or two plays a game where it's like, what is he doing? And those obviously look bad. But there's been times when he has a perfectly fine, like when there's, besides those two big misses, it's like there's not a huge clip farm cut up. Whenever the cut ups come out, it's, oh my gosh, look at this Anthony Bradford play. And then no one talks about, oh, look at Anthony Bradford on the rest of these plays. He's not great. He's not the worst player of all time. I mean, Christian Haynes graded out worse than him on PFF this week in limited minutes. I don't think Christian Haynes is very good. Christian Haynes had a chance to win the guard job out of camp, and he didn't. Anthony Bradford's powerful. He's strong. He can handle people kind of just one-on-one. I think it seems to be with the twists and the stunts and kind of a faster guy trying to get around him when his weaknesses are kind of exposed. He's not very quick, but he's a strong dude. And he's not a franchise cornerstone guard, but he's not as bad as people say he is. He's not. And it's unfortunate. The clips are really, really bad. Like, you can't even defend the clips, but it's not like he's doing that every play. If you look into it and you don't, besides the massive, massive misses that obviously should not happen, they don't happen to a lot of other people. He plays a pretty decent guard. He plays a decent guard. That's what I have to say. I mean, in the Minnesota game, his pass blocking grade is an 80. In the Arizona game a few weeks ago, grade is an 81 pass blocking, 71 in the run game, 67 in the run game against Tennessee. Seems like every game he does one thing decent. Some of these games have been rough, yes, but there's not a better option behind him. That's what I have to say. I don't need to see Christian Haynes. The line play has been good enough so far this year. I mean, Darnold was the least sacked guy in the NFL before last week. Before last week, he only sacked 11 times. This isn't a Seahawks offensive line like last year, where it's a horrible, horrible unit all around together. They're making it work right now. I don't think you need to switch stuff up unless there's a really, really better option behind him, which I really just don't think there is. Okay, on to the college football questions/topics. I'm gonna talk about Lane Kiffin real quick. That's one of them. What I think about Lane Kiffin. It's unfortunate. I like Lane Kiffin. His teams are always some of my favorite teams to watch in the SEC. They're fun, high-powered offenses. I really like the shitty thing is I really enjoyed watching Trinidad Chambliss this year in Ole Miss. I really enjoyed watching the Ole Miss team. They were fun. I liked talking about them. The Trinidad story is really cool. Lane was likable this year, and then this happens, and it sucks because they're their best team in franchise history. But it's LSU. It's LSU and it's Ole Miss. This was their best season in school history. It's 11-1 with a playoff berth. LSU is a completely different monster. It's not even about the money he's getting. Ole Miss is going to match the contract. The amount of recruits, just kind of the base recruiting you're going to be able to do. They have guys just committing, just people from Louisiana that want to go to LSU. The best players in Louisiana want to go to LSU. It's a national brand. He had a great signing day. If I just check that out real quick. Even when he came over just a week before, he was able to flip some guys. I'm interested to see in the portal if he is able to get some guys from Ole Miss because, I mean, there has been some stuff coming out on social media. People are saying he was lying about some stuff. But, like, whatever. Like, literally whatever. It sucks for him because it's not his fault. Obviously, he looks like a scumbag. Like, and it looks like a horrible thing to do. But there was no realistic thing. It's either he stays. There was no staying until the season ended and then going or coaching the rest of the year. It was never going to happen. It's either you stay at Ole Miss for another year or two, and who knows when the next big job opens up, or you go to LSU, which is a place where there's maybe one step up. Alabama, there's maybe like one or two jobs that you would want instead of LSU, and arguably LSU is above both of them. The culture, the tradition of the program, you can't beat that. You really just can't, and that's why I think it sucks for him. But I see why he did it, but it's really unfortunate how it's kind of played out because it's kind of going to stain his legacy in Oxford. Does Jed Fish belong at UW in the future of Husky football? Well, I'm happy I didn't answer this question on Monday because after the game on Saturday, I was pretty frustrated. I tweeted, I said I'd be fine if Jed leaves, if he goes to Florida. That was a bit harsh because I was just kind of looking at it as a perspective of the big games this year. They didn't show up, and yes, that is true, and I still stand by that. But what Jed was able to do in the on a national signing day, early national signing day, was special. This is their best class since 2019, which was an all-time class for the Huskies. This was a class that he flipped multiple 4-star receivers. I believe Jordan Clay was one of them. I'm trying to find these rankings right now. It was an amazing class. They brought in Cody Green, the number one offensive lineman in the entire country, and Jed says that he wants him to come in and start next season. He's expecting him to come in and start next season. And it kind of just not changed. But here's the thing. Jed has always been a good recruiter. Jed, when he talks about a program, he's like, it sounds good. It always sounds great. The program ruling at Washington, be a pro. Jed, the program builder, is outstanding. But next year, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this team. And it's well-deserved. It's obviously the transfer portal is going to come up too. I'm excited to see what they do there. Hoping to see no one big leave. But his in-game coaching and his game planning on offense, I just don't love. They have just yet to show up in a big game since he's been here. And next season, I feel like it's going to be playoff or bust. He's had 2 years to build up the program, getting a massive, massive recruiting class. This last year's freshman class also, the amount of games that they played, the amount of minutes they played, the amount of snaps that they played was, I believe, one of the highest in the country based on like important snaps and important reps. They're building something, but the players are going to be there. The coach needs to put them in a position to succeed. I don't think he did that against Oregon. I don't think he did that against Ohio State. And I don't think he did that against Michigan, which is the most frustrating thing because they had chances in some of those games. I don't think they were a better team than any of those three teams. I think they could be Michigan. I think they could have hung around with Oregon and Ohio State, and they definitely had a chance from the Oregon game. I'll talk about that for a second. They had a shot. That was kind of the more frustrating thing in just being there. They had a real chance. Damon played one of his worst games the entire season, in my opinion. The interception he threw in the first half on the second drive of the game when Denzel's, yes, he is lined up on a linebacker, but you're not staring at the safety that's going to follow him back there. and he throws it right to the guy. And even if he wasn't there, it's an underthrown ball to the inside. Put that to the outside shoulder, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to be a pick. That sucks. The defense stepped up when you needed to, and the offense just couldn't. They couldn't. Just missed opportunities. You get the ball first, you have a chance to make a statement, you have to go 3 and out. You go 3 and out on your first 2 drives, you punt on your third one. Just an example on Jed's in-game decisions that just the last thing I'll say about the Oregon game is Adam Muhammad was running the ball really, really well. Really, really well. He was 14 for 105. 105 yards rushing on 14 carries, and they just went away from it for no reason on some of these 3 and out drives. Early in the game, I mean, you take a sack on 2nd and 6, you set up 3rd and 14 on the second play of the game. You take a sack on 1st and 10, and then you have to a 7-yard sack at 2nd and 17. You 5-yard pass incompletion. When you eventually end up having to punt on your 3rd drive, it's an incompletion on 1st down. You 0-run incompletion. And then your 4th drive, when you're getting it going, and Damon is getting it, he's moving, and they get down before he throws the pick. It's a 14-yard run and a 9-yard run, then the pick. Lean on your guy. Lean on your guy. Like, don't make your quarterback have to make every play in the world. Make it easy for him. There's not a lot of easy completions out there. That's my frustration is Jed needs to grow a lot as a play caller. If this team does want to contend for a national championship, if this team does want to win important playoff games, he has to improve himself as a play caller or bring someone else in. And I think his ego's too big to bring someone else in. Okay, you're building a great program right now from what was essentially the ground up when you took it over. Please, he needs to learn some things about himself this offseason. Because if they do get into an important game next year, he's going to get out-coached based on what we've seen. He needs to figure it out. That's what I think about Jedd Fisch. He's an elite program builder. This recruiting class is one of the best ones they've ever had. He needs to I don't even know how to explain it. It's so frustrating to watch, though. It is so frustrating to watch. Just looking at these guys that they brought in. Number 13 overall class in the country. Cody Green, like I said, 5-star. Gavin Day, 4-star safety. J.D. Hill, 4-star defensive lineman. Brian Bonner, a 4-star running back who's probably going to come in and compete for snaps. Derek Coleman-Bruce out of Kennedy Catholic, a 4-star edge. Jordan Clay, who they picked from Baylor's their highest receiving product since I think Rome is Romer McMillan. Trez Davis, a 4-star receiver. Rajon Duncan, a 4-star corner. Mason James, a 4-star. It's a lot of receivers. It's a lot of receivers, and they need to replace some production there. Denzel's gone. And after Denzel, it was Roebuck was good, and RVB had his moments. It was kind of underneath stuff, but they need a guy that could go in and be the alpha. And I think these receivers are going to play. Jed's not scared to play a freshman. I think Jordan Clay is going to be one of the best receiving prospects in the country if it pans out. But Damon has some growing to do this summer. The last thing I'll say, Damon has some growing to do this summer. Jed does as well. But I mean, the framework is there. And next year, I think it's playoff or bust, because this was before the season. I said 8-4. I said if you win 8 games, that's like what should be the floor should be. That's the floor for being like a successful season. And he did it, and he won 8 games, and they should have arguably won all 4 of their losses. They had a chance to win all 4 of their losses, and they didn't. So I'm gonna touch on conference championship week real quick. Just kind of the important ones. North Texas, Tulane. I'm interested to see what happens there. 2 coaches that are leaving. Such a weird scenario. Both these coaches are coaching somewhere else, but they're coaching the team in this game. I respect that. I like North Texas here. I think Mestemaker is electric. I think that offense is explosive, and I don't think Tulane can hang. BYU, Texas Tech. I like the spot for BYU. Satake, the head coach, him coming back this week, I think kind of shoots him up with momentum. I think it invigorates them. I think they play hard. I think they definitely keep this game close. Because I mean, if they lose, they're out, and they got kind of embarrassed in the first game of the season. Neutral site, momentum on their side can kind of stop that offense a little bit, make it a slow, ugly game. That's kind of how they want to play it. I like BYU there. Georgia, Alabama. And my question here is if Bama loses, are they in? And I don't know. I think Kalen Dober has to go in this as a playoff game. This is a must-win game. He's been great against ranked opponents. He's been great in these huge, massive games. Him and Ryan Grubb need to need to pull this one out. They beat Georgia in Georgia. They're underdogs. I like Alabama here. I'm interested to see, though, if they lose, are they out of the playoff? I'm not sure how it's going to play out. That's one of the things I'm watching for. Indiana, Ohio State, both these teams are going to get in. Indiana hasn't won a Big Ten title in 50 years. They haven't beat Ohio State in 37 years. Massive implications there. Ohio State only 4-point favorites. I think Ohio State wins that. I think they're the best team in the country. If Indiana can hang, though, if this is just kind of a close game, I think Cignetti is a guy that will learn from. I mean, he's a big game coach, and he hypes these guys up. He performed this year against Oregon. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out strong and kind of shock them a little bit, but I don't think they have the talent on the outside to hang with this Ohio State defense and push the ball down the field. Quite honestly, I still don't think they have the athletes to put explosive plays together back to back to back. Duke, Virginia. I hope Duke wins just for the chaos that's going to ensue, because they might put a true group of 5 teams in, James Madison and in North Texas, which would be fun. But I mean, Virginia's been bad all season. Not bad, but they've been flirting with loss all year. They should have lost to Wazoo. They should have lost to North Carolina. They could have lost to Cal. They could have lost to Florida State. They could have lost to Louisville. They could have lost almost any of these games. And they beat Duke 34-17 2 weeks ago. I'm not sold. I think Duke comes in with a chip on their shoulder there. No one thinks they should be there. I think they win that game. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there. Kind of a long episode, kind of all over the place. Sorry about that. Sorry this is coming out on Friday. But it's an exciting weekend for conference championship games. A lot of stuff. The final playoff rankings will be coming out on Tuesday. Or no, on Sunday. Selection Sunday. Looking forward to that. Be able to talk about that on Monday, cover the games. Big weekend in the NFL, big implicating games like the Bears, like the Bengals. Some big spots, some entertaining spots. And thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for sending in questions. If you send them in, I'm going to do that again next week. And thanks for listening. I'll see you guys on Monday.